Video follows after the pictures because I'm not looking too great today because of allergies. Welcome! What I'll cover today in my video includes a shift in my personal spiritual work, which includes channeling a new voice in addition to my usual angels and spirit guides. This will lead eventually to a book. I will go over the main theme of this project. It includes the nexus of my approach to manifesting your wishes into reality. I summarize the importance of our thoughts and maintaining a positive mindset, especially in these difficult times. I go over how difficult this is for me to do since I am an empath. I discuss the importance of invoking spiritual protection prior to any type of spiritual undertaking and how you can be sure the energies with whom you work are always positive. I conclude with a brief update involving some health complications from which I suffered for nearly all of 2024. I'm back to working full-time and accepting new clients for the first time in 4 years. Now on to the video. Something really crazy happened this morning and I wanted to show you guys and get your opinions. Please drop them in the comments below as they occur to you. Pause the video if you have questions. Post your questions as well. Here goes what happened. So I'm watching this motivational video on YouTube, as you do. I watch a lot of them. I'm a very positively minded person by nature, but since the pandemic and all of the evil that's been unleashed on the earth plane as a result of that situation, I'm an empath, which means I absorb other people's emotions. And sometimes it's so tricky, I get fooled into thinking they're my own emotions when they're not. I realize that and I can bring my energy back up. I have methods for doing that for myself. And since the disaster that was 2020, it's gotten to be increasingly difficult to do that. I can still manage, but now it takes quite a bit of effort. Excuse me, I was watching this motivational video this morning on how to create a positive mindset. And I was like, oh yeah, I used to do that. Why don't I still do that? It worked for me. So, I'm taking my notes and stuff. And I actually had this envelope sitting on my kitchen table here as I was having my breakfast. And so I was taking my notes. And all of a sudden, I heard this voice. Now, I preface this by saying I am a clairaudient, which means I can hear the voices and guidance of my spirit guides and my angels, just like someone speaking to me. I'm extremely blessed with that. I've been like that since I was about maybe, 13, 14 years old. About the time I hit puberty is when it began. And so now it's basically just like talking to another person. And so they've been extremely helpful. That's how I do my card readings. When I read cards, I present the traditional interpretation of the card first. And then whatever it is that my spirit guides or angels are telling me for the client, I then share that information. So all the readings I give are channeled. I just don't preface them with that. I call them intuitive readings because basically that's what they are. And so anyway, I have my own set of angels and spirit guides I've had for the bulk of my life. I'm 61 now. So, you get to know the voices. And plus, a lot of my guides have individual names, some of which are well known as ascended masters. I have 2 guides who are ascended masters. And, you get to know their voices. Well, so I'm sitting here, as I said, I was taking my notes. And this new voice pops in. And it says, please find a journal. You're going to need a journal for this. And I'm like, okay. First of all, whenever you sense a new presence, hear it, feel it, see it, what have you. Number 1, always do this, please. Invoke your protectors, whoever they may be. Mine happen to be Jesus Christ, Mother Mary, and Archangel Michael, in that order. I call on 3 of them for protection immediately. Then, number 2, charge this new energy you're sensing to tell you its true allegiance. Now, there's a universal law, regardless of your beliefs, that spirits over on the spirit plane, they respond to the name of Christ. You know how in the movies, when they're doing an exorcism, they always say, I cast you out in the name of Jesus Christ, and blah, 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 and all that stuff. That's because it's true. When you invoke the name of Christ, demons, dark spirits, they have to leave. They cannot remain within your presence. And that's whether you're a Christian or not. It still works. I have a lot of clients who are Muslim. A very high percentage of my clients are Muslim. I have some who are Hindu, and I have a handful who are Native American, and they respond best to the concept of the Great Spirit. So it's different paths, but when faced with negative forces, if you call on the name of Jesus, it always works. So what I do whenever I hear a new voice come in, or I sense a presence, or what have you, I always say, I charge you in the name of Jesus Christ to tell me your true allegiance. Any spirit knows what that means. You're basically telling them, what team are you on? Are you with the good guys, or are you with the bad guys? They have to tell you. Now, 9 times out of 10, if the spirit you're sensing is negative, they just won't answer you. They won't say anything. You won't sense anything, but they will just up and leave. Okay? So that tells you right off the bat, they were negative. You didn't need them around. And, you thank your protectors and you go about your day, right? That happens. It happens to me because negative spirits masquerade as spirits of the light. They do that in order to infiltrate our bodily system and attach their negative energy to our positive energy, and then they work on draining us of our energy, and that is your best case scenario. There's other scenarios you don't want me to get into, trust me. Anyway, that being said, so I charged it in the name of Jesus, tell me who your true allegiance, to whom you owe your true allegiance. And then the voice said, you're charging me in the name of Jesus. And when it said that, it said it kind of like with a very slight humorous tone to its voice. And when I heard that, from a new connection, a new spirit connection, if they immediately come in with using any type of humor or try to make light of the situation, I just always kind of take that as a sign of disrespect, and I just send them packing. I just say, in the name of Jesus, I am not interested. Go now. And they have to leave, and they do. Because I don't think that's a way to start a new relationship, especially a spiritual one, which should be always conducted with the height of respect until you really, really, really know the energy you're dealing with and they know you. And then it's like a friendship, it evolves over time. And then you do become more familiar with them. I mean, like my relationship with Archangel Michael, whom I've been channeling since 1999, is like, I tell people, how I speak to him now, and they're like totally shocked. They're like, how could you possibly talk to Archangel Michael like that? He's the one who threw the devil out of heaven and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, because he is now not only my protector, he's my friend. And that's how you talk to your buddies, you kind of joke around a little bit. And I remember there's a dream I had, and I had this dream of him years and years ago. And he appeared to me in numerous layers of robe made from like a gauze-like material, a translucent gauze-like material. He had layer upon layer upon layer of his material on his body, and he almost always appears to me as in a human form, like he does, in the famous paintings and all that. And in the dream, he's got all these layers of chiffon type material on him, and they're shades of ranging from a pale pink to a pale orange to a pale red. Almost like as he moved, it was like the movement of a flame. It was really cool. I can't even really describe it properly to you for you to have an idea. That's the best I can come up with. And I said to him, and I kind of said, Michael, I said, you've got all these shades of orange on you today. You look so pretty. I said, you reminded me of a peach. And he says to me, well, I'm just a peachy guy. Now that is a prime example of the type of relationship I now have with Archangel Saint Michael. And again, it develops over time, you know. You get to know what the boundaries are, and we always stay within our boundaries, you know. Anyway, when this voice started to address me in a somewhat, not really funny term, but kind of like what he found what I just said amusing, I'm like, oh no, And I said to the voice, I said, you do not disrespect me like that. You are in my home. You are within my energy field. There's no more sacred and private area than your own energy field. And that's what happens when entities come to you. In order to make that connection, to communicate, they have to enter into your energy field, okay? To be able to make that connection. So that is why it is so important to always call on your protectors prior to any type of session of channeling, working with your divinatory system, whatever system you use, tarot cards, oracle cards, Lenormand cards, runes, dice, what have you. You always call on your protectors first and foremost, even if you do this activity every single day, several times a day, like I do, because I do readings as part of my living. So anyway, I say that to him, and then the voice says, I am just not accustomed to being charged in my own name. And then I felt it. This massive amount of love and compassion, it completely surrounded me. It was like the most wonderful, beautiful hug you could ever imagine. And it kind of reminded me, sorry, I've done this video 6 times already. I cry every time. This is the last time. Number 7 is going to be it. Oh my gosh. It reminded me of what it felt like when I was a little girl and I'd fall and skim my knee or something and my mom would hug me. That's just what it felt like. And then I knew exactly who I was dealing with, because I've had this experience. I've been extremely blessed 2 other times in my life. The first time was when I was 9 years old, and one of my most recent newsletters actually deals with this event. I will post the link to that newsletter below so you can read it for yourselves. The offer for the newsletter is no longer valid, but the experience I share of a visitation from Jesus Christ is really, really worth the read. I sincerely hope you do click on the link and read the newsletter. I'm not even interested in having you subscribe to my newsletter, but if you'd like to, by all means do, please, but read that account, please. Anyway, so I knew who I was dealing with, and this just happened. Let's see, it is now, what time is it? Okay, it's noon. It happened at about 9:30. And I've been filming this video over and over again because I can't get through it without crying like a baby. So I said to him, I said, no. I said, I'm sorry, I cannot accept that as an answer. You must tell me, in the name of Jesus Christ, to whom do you owe your allegiance? Because, they will pretend, and they will pretend to be God. They'll do whatever it takes to get into your energy, especially since what happened in 2020, because what happened in 2020 has opened the door, my friends. What has been kept separate from the earth plane is now here. That is why we're having such a huge flap of all these UAPs / UFOs / interdimensional beings. The majority of them are not extraterrestrial, and they're interdimensional because they're demonic and they're angelic. And the age-old battle between good and evil is now occurring on the earth plane. And Archangel Michael warned me of this in 2015. And he said, it's coming. There's nothing I can do now to stop it. And now it's here. That's why the world is turning into such a shithole. That's why. Anyways, It is up to us to remain as positive as we can, to work on keeping our energy levels high, and that will help to counterbalance the situation. Okay, it's really important. So anyway, I charge this voice again. In the name of Jesus Christ, tell me to whom you owe your true allegiance. And there's like this pause. And then it says, I am who I am. Now that is basically how God told Moses who he was. And I know this. But I said again, no, that's not what I'm asking you to do. I am asking you again, in the name of Jesus Christ, tell me to whom you owe your true allegiance. And then I told the voice, this is your last chance. After this, I will send you packing. So I'm sitting here feeling this feeling of, this overpowering feeling of love and compassion. And I start crying, and I know who I'm dealing with at that point. And I'm just like, I'm floored. And I say to him, I say, Lord, why are you here? And he said, I am here because you have work to do. I have work to do. Sometimes the work is the same path. And he said, so we are going to do this together, you and I, and it will basically be as it was in your sessions with Michael. And he just said Michael. He did not say Saint Michael. He did not say Archangel Michael. He didn't use any of Michael's titles. He just said your previous work with Michael, because I channeled him for a number of years. Oh, and he says, you're going to need a notebook for this. And then it was funny because I was downstairs, having my breakfast when all this happened. I had tidied up my dining room last weekend, and there's a bookcase in there. And I knew when I was tidying up, I saw the spine of this journal in the bookcase, right? And I was thinking at the time, oh yeah, I need to find something to do with this journal, because I bought it on a clearance from this site that sells basically pens, fountain pens. And they had it for $4, and the cover is like plastic, and I didn't even know it was plastic. I thought it was like going to be cardstock. It's not. It's like a plastic. It's awesome, and it's spiral bound, and it's got lined paper. I'm not crazy about lined paper because I like to use ephemera in my journals, stickers and washi tape and all that fun stuff. But I was like, I still have to use it for something because it's nice paper too. And so I knew it was in the bookcase down here, and I thought, I'll grab that because it's got the lined paper. Be great for, channeling and keeping the thoughts somewhat organized. Because when you channel the whoever you're working with, they tend to kind of jump all over the place, or it's just the way your mind is trying to process the message that's coming through. So something like this would be perfect. So I went and I grabbed this, right? And I go to open it, flip it open, and there's this loose leaf paper in there. And I'm like, oh, what's this? And I had put this journal in that bookcase sometime late last year. Well, I didn't realize, but at some point I had stuck this paper in here. And so I look at it, and from it you can kind of see this scratchy stuff. That's my husband's writing. That looks like Sumerian cuneiform. If you know what cuneiform looks like, that's his writing. Like, I basically cannot read most of his writing. It's crazy. And so I looked at it and I was like, oh, that's something that my husband Stuart wrote. And I'm like, I wonder what this is. I was going to open it, but I grabbed the paper from the back first instead of flipping it open to see. It's actually a score from a Scrabble game we had played. But I went and flipped it over like this instead. And I went, oh, I have notes here. And, like I said at the beginning of this video, I do watch inspirational videos on YouTube. And I'm a Gemini. I firmly believe we are always learning. We are here to learn. Look, and this is what I found in this notebook that I'm now going to use in the work that Christ and I will be doing together. And they read, and also it's all about how to manifest your reality, how to work in your 5 senses in your manifestation work so that your wishes really do manifest. And Christ gave me a title, and then he gave me this basic information, and he told me around this is the core, this is the nexus of our work. And then he wanted me to rewrite it, put it in here, and he said once I did that, he'd be back and we'd do more work. Okay, so I have to do that later because I've been trying to get this video out. But anyway, so I find this journal's downstairs. I totally forgot about this paper I put in there. And obviously I saved it for the notes on the back, not for the Scrabble scores. But the notes read, now listen to this. Knowing now what's on these notes from this morning, 65,000 thoughts a day. 95% are subconscious, where you're co-creating your reality. Everything exists in astral 5D, the fifth dimension, where time is concurrent. All possibilities exist simultaneously. And that's because there's the scientific belief that every time, I want to say strand is not the proper word. I'm having a senior moment here, but you'll get my meaning. Every time period is side by side by side by side. Everything's happening at once. Okay, then I say contents of your conscious, or seeing the wish already fulfilled and being grateful for it, is what brings your wish into reality. That's important. Think about that for a couple seconds. Contents of your conscious, I should have said consciousness. Remember, these are notes. Or seeing the wish already fulfilled and being grateful for it is what brings your wish into reality. Remember that. Then I have a little bulleted list here, and it reads clear intention, focused attention, emotional gratitude. This is the core for any positive practice of magical manifestation. Lighting candles for yourself or for others to help bring wishes into reality. This is the core the practitioner always follows. You have to have a clear intention. You have to focus your attention. And we do that through using items like candles and herbs and oils and all that. And then you express emotional gratitude once the work is done. That's the core of how magic works. And then the next sentence here is use I am is all in caps, to align your consciousness. I am is the way in the Bible God refers to himself when he's giving Moses the 10 Commandments. Okay. And so then I have down here an example. I am grateful that and then in parentheses, I wrote out, have X wish fulfilled, end of parentheses. And then I say, everything we desire already exists, which is true, because in order to manifest on the physical plane, it has to exist in the astral plane first. And what defines the astral plane is our thoughts and our perceptions. So whatever it is you're thinking, it already exists on the astral plane. And now that with the planetary alignment at the end of February 2025, I'm recording this video March 18th, 2025. With that planetary alignment that occurred at the end of February, that was the last push into the fifth dimension for our plane of existence. We are now all residents of the fifth dimension. And the fifth dimension is where your thoughts live. We are living side by side with our thoughts now. It is so extremely important to keep our thoughts high vibration and positive, because what we think now is going to be manifesting much easier than it ever has done before. So within that statement is both a promise and a warning. So I saw these notes and I was just like, oh my goodness. And then Jesus told me, you've already been working on this, and I've known that. I'm just here because you procrastinate. Yes, he knows me well. I do indeed. So that's what this is. I was actually most likely writing this up for like a blog post or maybe a newsletter or maybe even a video. I don't remember because it was so such a while ago. But it meshes perfectly with these notes here of the information he gave me today. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite these in this journal, still be organized, and then hopefully he'll be back soon and we will continue our work. But I just wanted to put this out there as being a little bit of a new direction my business is taking. I'm still also obviously still providing my services to all my clients. I am currently now open for new clients. I have not been open for new clients in 4 years because my business had been so busy. I had not, as a single person, been able to keep up with the demand. And so now that it's, kind of cleared up and I have space now in my schedule, I am open to new clients. So if you've been wanting to try my services, the links are below the description here. You can order directly from this video in the description. Those are all secure PayPal payment links. I do have a little bit of a life update that impacts the timely manner in which I deliver your reports. I give a video report for all of your candle work. It details how your candles reacted when they burned and what that means. And then the video report concludes with my psychic interpretations of the remains of your candle or candles. This is still observation number 1. Everything's going fine, and we wait to see how they continue burning. It is 8:04 p.m. and your candle's doing just fine. The flame's much smaller now. It's 1/4 of an inch high, and there's one teeny tiny obstacle in the molten wax to the immediate right of the flame. Otherwise, your candle is burning cleanly and doing well. Readings are sent out in video format. And for visionary artwork, you get the physical item, of course, but I also give you a video report detailing what all the colors symbolize and what the symbols mean and what their placement in the composition mean, because it's like receiving your own personal tarot card, basically. And I interpret it, basically like a tarot card. So you'll know the meaning of all the symbols and the colors and what that means about your life path and your spiritual evolution, your evolution as a spiritual being. So all that I'm still doing, but the delivery of it is a little bit slower because in February of 2024, I went for a typical eye exam. Real brief. It's a real long story, but I'm giving it to you as briefly as I can. What happened was I went for the typical exam, and as part of the exam, they dilate your eyes, right? I have what's called narrow angles. That means my eyes, your eyes, they're basically almost all liquid, and they have ducts in there that help to drain the liquid. I did at the time have ocular hypertension, which means my eye pressures, which should be between 10 to like 16, 17, it's perfectly fine. Mine were 22 to 25, which is the high end of normal. They weren't high enough to where I needed glaucoma drops or anything. I was not diagnosed with glaucoma. My optic nerves were actually the strongest pair of optic nerves my doctor has ever seen, and I've had several ophthalmologists tell me that, not just him, over the years. So I'm really fortunate, because what happens is the pressure of the liquid presses on your optic nerve, and you eventually go blind from glaucoma. That's how people go blind from glaucoma. So had the dilation done, and the next day I woke up with really intense vertigo. It's like my entire house was at a 45-degree angle and I wasn't. And it was awful. And I felt nauseated and I started to get what I realized with Googling were ocular migraines, which are different from a head migraine, but they're just as horrible. So I went through this pattern of being basically sick for 2 weeks out of every month, from February until November of 2024. Those are symptoms of glaucoma that is raging out of control. So I get in to see my doctor, and his assistant takes the eye pressures first, before you see the doctor. And she's like, "Oh," and I'm like, "What?" And she goes, "Well, the right eye is 38." And I'm like, 38? And she's like, "Yeah, that's glaucoma." And I'm like, "Oh my God." And she did the left eye. The left eye was 37. So at least they were fairly even, but totally out of control. He comes in, he's like, oh, we got to put you on this drop, and we're going to put you on this other drop. I need him to be down into the teens. I need him down into the teens before we'll think of anything else. And then he tells me my angles have closed up and my eyes are basically no longer draining the fluid. And that's why the pressure was so out of whack. He says, it's a slight risk with people with narrow angles. He says, your angles were not so narrow that I thought it would be a problem. But obviously it was made worse because my eyes, now that I'm 61, are growing cataracts. And so the cataract takes up more space in your eyeball. So he says it's not just the angle, it's the cataract's growth that is squeezing that angle shut. And he says, we need to go in and get the cataracts out, and then you'll be fine. Now, he had told me when I saw him in February, my cataracts were still really, really young, and so he wasn't going to go in and get them out until about 4 to 5 years from now. He says, that's when you'll need it done. They're not affecting your sight right now, which is true. I didn't even know I had cataracts. I was seeing perfectly fine. I could no longer see the lunar craters with the naked eye. And then when I had the cataracts out and I could see them, I was like, whoa, Stuart, get outside and look at the full moon right now. It's freaking amazing. He's like, it is? I'm like, yeah, you can see the craters. He's like, what? And he goes out there with me. He's like, you can always see the craters. What's the matter with you? I'm like, you can? I couldn't. And I could see them after my surgery. It was amazing. But anyway, I digress. So that's what happened to me all of 2024. So in delivering my orders, because they all go out as part of video, I have to edit those videos. I have to look at a bright screen editing those videos on my phone or my iPad. And that really was hurting my eyes. So editing was really slow going. So it took me a while to fill orders. It is still taking me a while because my eyes are now going through the healing process post-op. I've had them both surgically repaired, and my sight is, like I said, it's better than it's ever been. Filling orders is slower, but that's the life update. I'm still working, and I'm back up to full time now. It's just the videos are slowing down my order filling process. So that's it for me. Life update, a little bit of a new direction in terms of the spiritual work I'm going to be doing for the foreseeable future, just so you know. And if you have any questions about it, if you have any questions about channeling higher vibrational beings, higher frequency beings, let me know in the comments below. I'm happy to address that. And that's it for today. This is Nefer Kefri of Magical Musings. I thank you for watching, and I'm wishing you a blessed day ahead.